one can see that there was a form of depression entering into the apostolic band. I'm going fishing, back to their comfort zone. I'm coming with you. And then, to make matters worse, it didn't work. Several hours and not a single fish. One can imagine the thought in the mind of Simon Peter. And then, to make it even worse, this gentleman comes out of nowhere and says, "Did you catch anything?" And of course they're ashamed to say, these professional fishermen, "We didn't catch anything all night." And then, to make matters worse, this gentleman out of nowhere says, "Try the other side." So, even though it's not recorded, one can hear the interior dialogue in the mind of Simon Peter. He doesn't, of course, swear, but I wonder what's going on in his head and what he's thinking about this gentleman that's coming out of nowhere. But then, all these fish somehow come out of nowhere also. And of course, he's not well dressed, so he disappears into the water. Well, it's of course John who is the first to, as we would say in Irish, cop on. But he doesn't say anything. In fact, none of them say a thing. A few things start to happen very quickly, in close succession. We notice the detail. That means that we have an eyewitness account. He was there counting the fish. Not 156, not 153, 100, yes, 153 to be exact. So he was there, counting them one by one. They who had worked all night and caught nothing. They had a job to hold them together. 2 barks. And so things started to get even stranger. This person out of nowhere somehow has already prepared a charcoal fire and fish on it. And commentators have picked up that actually that's probably another miracle he's created himself. He doesn't say anything hugely exotic. He says, "Come and have breakfast." And yet they're too afraid to say anything. The narrator, John, is very good at creating an atmosphere. They all knew it was the Lord. Now notice the Lord, not just Jesus, but the Lord. They're starting to be aware that this is something of a different dimension. The goose pimple factor. What in German might be referred to as the Aha-Erlebnis, the aha experience, the kind of beginning to be aware. Well, the nature of this we need to relive. But also we can take with us this one phrase. It has actually become the title of a book. It is the Lord, maintained in the Latin Dominus est by Archbishop Schneider, referring to the greatness of what we have to handle ever since. They are aware that there is a veiled majesty here. This person is very mysterious. We have managed, in our mature approach to him in our day, to have brought him to our level. He is one of us, our brother. The way that we approach him shows that we've forgotten that he is actually Lord. And Bishop Schneider hints strongly that there are repercussions and also elements of cohesion and coherence with regard to what we believe and how we manifest that belief. it is interesting that Jacinta, not of Fatima at this time, but Jacinta of Garabandal, had, and still has, or did she die, I forget, the gift also of dreams. And her husband was a very good man, has given testimony with regard to these premonitory dreams. For instance, his father dying and so on. She's always right. She was always right when she had these dreams. Well, in 1961, therefore way back, they were children, she had this very vivid dream. She was seeing around her people receiving the Lord in their hand. And she had the understanding that this was, as it were, authorized, and she couldn't understand it. It had no sense. And they were about to get her to receive it also in the hand, and she woke up. But it wasn't a dream like any other. And she understood, of course, years later, that it was being given to her to understand, especially in that context, but now it's actually very Eucharistic, remembering the message of St. Michael and of our Blessed Lady. The Blessed Sacrament was going to be given, was already being given less honour, less respect. That this was something for our time. The way we speak is not just vocal. We speak with all our person. That's why a conversation is quite different from a text or an email. The facial expressions, the tone of voice, the gestuality, all enters into it. And so it is with our God. The sacramental sphere participates in the human and the material. And therefore the human and the material enter into our worship in spirit and in truth. It is important that whatever we do in the sacred context, we do with all our being. Nothing shoddy. Even the chant, prepared and executed calmly. Only the best is worthy of the High King. One last thing. The Lord himself occasionally has drawn our attention to this in our time. He does not like being allowed to fall to the ground. And one wonders whether he likes being put in water. Quite a few times over the past years, he has actually reminded us forcefully, each little particle is him. And therefore we act accordingly. The demon hates the Blessed Sacrament and pushes all that can in any way attack it. By playing his game, we don't know which side we're fighting for. Alleluia.